Welcome back to my next playthrough series. Yes, we're back to Pandemic Legacy. This time, March. Yeah. We actually have 4 CDCs now permanently on the board, which is pretty awesome. So we're going to be good with that. And then we have to take a look at our stop deck. So carrying over from February into March, this is always a mandatory objective. Discover a cure to 3 normal diseases. Must always be one of the objectives you complete to win the game. So boom, that's pretty easy to set up. And then we also have the win bonus from January. Scratch this off if you win a game in February. From February. So we did win a game in February. Right away we got lucky. So we get this one for any game played in March, which will obviously be this one. After setup, before the first turn begins, add a quarantine marker anywhere on the board. Destroy this at the end of March. So once we get into June. So I'm going to put that off to the side of the board. We get to put one of these lovely quarantine markers after setup wherever we want on the board. Alright, we go to the stop deck. Do not draw any more cards. Alright, draw this card just before you set up your first game in March. Well, that'll be right now. So we're going to draw this card, and here we go. March, mission briefing, confidential. We have been preparing for this contingency. Code A has caused panic, so we're hired paramilitary assistance to help with the trouble spots. You are to partner with them to keep things under control until more research can be done on Code A. You'll also need you also need to complete 2 objectives this month. We know you're up to the challenge. Oh goodness. And it says from this point on, whenever you see these circles, open them, resolve them one at a time. So we're going to be starting with X. But, alright, so let's take a look at X. So we have, it looks like a couple more objectives. We can look at them quickly. So objective, have a military base in each of the 6 major regions of the world. Oh dear, that sounds pretty simplistic, doesn't it? And the other objective we have is eradicate at least 1 disease. Alright, so our mandatory mission, we have to cure the 3 diseases. And once we complete either of those ones, we'll have completed 2, and that will win us March. Looks like we also get another character. I know we're going to be looking at X here in a second. So the other character that shows up now is an operations expert with a set of dog tags. And as an action, build a structure in the city you are in. No card required. Ooh, that sounds good. And once per turn as an action, move from any city containing a structure to any city, including rioting, collapsing, and fallen cities. Move from any city containing a structure. To any, wow, so any structure city to anywhere in the world by discarding any city card. Wow, that's pretty powerful. So that's a new character, possibly. Alright, let's take a look at X. Alright, taking a look at X is right here. So we rip the little X tag off. It says, you now have secret clearance. Open package 2. And what was package 2? Alright, inside package 2 was this. These must be the military centers. So there's 2, 4, 6, there's 8 of those. They're exactly the same as the CDCs, except they're green. So these are, I'm assuming, the military centers. We'll put them off to the side. What does X have to say? X says, military bases. Characters may take the military shuttle flight action between 2 military bases if their character has the dog tag symbol on it. Players cannot fly between military bases and any other types of structures. Alright, is that actually... Ooh, that must be a rule. Alright, but we'll have to keep that in mind. Alright, that was X. Alright, and up next we look at 43. 43, not 42. Alright, 43 is right here. So we whip that off, and what does it say? Add a sticker to each reference card. Alright, well, let's see what 43 has to say for itself. 43 is military shuttle flight. So they're all the same. They're going to be put onto the action cards. Move from a city with a military base to another city with a military base. Your character must have a dog tag on their card. So it looks like characters with dog tags can move between military bases. I guess that makes sense. And I do believe, yes, this guy, of course, the new guy, has military dog tags. And I thought one of our other characters also had it. Yeah, the quarantine specialist, which I think we're probably going to be playing with. Alright, I have to dig out the next one, and that's number 5. Alright, found number 5. So number 5 just gets peeled off. There was nothing behind it, no other instructions. And number 5 is Scars. Exhausted. You may drive fairy for no more than 2 times in your turn. Panicky. So these scars are now available. Oh, great. So adding them to our other pile of scars. Luckily, so far in the playthrough, nobody has gotten scars. Well, let's keep it that way, we hope. Okay, oh my goodness. All right, so we got a couple more objectives. We have to do cure 3 diseases. One of the other objectives. What do we have here? This is stop. Do not open any more cards. End of your first game in March. Before selecting your game and upgrades, open the following doors and then draw this card. Oh, wow. Okay, lots going on. What is this card? All right, we get a new funded event. Remote Outpost. Play anytime, not an action. Add 1 military base to any city. No discard needed. That will be now added to the rest of our cards. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 11 funded event cards. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem with March. Yes, we have 11 funded event cards. We get to use 2. Because if you lose a game, you get +2. If you win a game, which we did here in second part of January, you lose 2, and we won in February, so we lose 2. So we only get 2 funded event cards. Ooh. And yeah, I give names to all the characters. We're going to take a look at them all here in a second. I got to figure out some more of the setup. Alright, let's take a look at all of the characters we now have available. So starting off, we have Trevor. I'm not going to go through all the details. He is family member with Claire, if you want to take a look at that. We've played with him now since the beginning, and he's got local connections. So this is his abilities. We already know what they are. We've used them for the first 2 turns. So he is family with Claire. Alright, up next we got Vicky, our scientist. She only needs 4 cards to cure. She's rivals with Clive. We have Claire, who's family with Trevor. They get an extra action if they start in the same space. She does not have any upgrades yet. She's got Grizzle, though. She doesn't get a scarf. She's in a city with an outbreak. And she gets 5 actions because she's the generalist. We also have now Clive, which we used in February to good use. He's rivals with Vicky. Move any other player's pawn. As an action, move any pawn to a city with another pawn. And get permission before moving another player's pawn. Alright, well, we're playing solo, so that's going to happen. Now I've named Sandy, our researcher. You can give any 1 city card and you share knowledge. It need not match your city. That's really handy. I don't know if we're going to play with her. Ugh, such tough decisions. And then we have Nick, the new one that just showed up. Our operations expert. He's got the dog tags. And it's as an action, build a structure in the city you are in. No card required. So he can just build military structures wherever without discarding cards. Man, we probably want to play with him this time. Ooh, I don't know. Let's turn. As an action, move from any city containing a structure to any city, including riding, collapsing, and falling, by discarding any city card. So he's really flexible. And then we have, I've named her Gwen. Gwen, our quarantine specialist. Once per turn, you could put a quarantine marker anywhere on the board. And quarantine markers are never removed from the city you are in. Those are our choices, and oh my god, I'm going to have to agonize here over what we want for our March playthrough. We've got to either build 6 military bases, 1 in each region, or eradicate a disease, but we have to cure 3. So I'm going to come back here in a moment and decide. We're going to go with 4 again. I think 4 work pretty good. They'll start with 2 cards each, which I have to shuffle this deck. We have to pick 2 of these. All right, well, speaking of 2 of these, oh my goodness. So we have Remote Outpost, which I like. We have Funded Event Forecast. Look and rearrange cards. Current player gets 2 extra actions. Discard 1 to 3 city cards. You get that many actions. Airlift. Move any 1 pawn to any city. And this can include riding, collapsing, get permission. Remote Treatment. Remove 2 disease cubes from the board. Local Initiative. Place a quarantine marker on any 2 cities on the board. 1 player, including activator, discard their current character. Replace it with an unused one. We have add a research station to any city. I don't think we're going to be using that. 1 quiet night. Skip the next infect city step. Do not flip over any infection cards. Oh my god. And resilient population. Discard 1 card from the infection deck pile from the game. You can do this between infect and intensify. So those are our cards to choose from, but we get 2. Alright, I'm going to come right back. I'm going to tell you which 4 characters we're playing with and which 2 cards we're going to shuffle into this deck after everyone gets their 2 cards. Ooh, it's brutal. All right, our 4 winners, or sacrificial lambs, I guess we'll call them, for March. The 4 I'm going to be playing with are Trevor, because Trevor's awesome. And now Trevor is friends with Nick, because Nick is a new player coming into the game. I know, I kind of messed this up, but whatever. He's friends with Nick, and he's family member with Claire. And friends, if you start your turn in the same city as a friend, you may look at but not rearrange the top 2 cards of the player deck. All right, and we know all about his abilities. He will be the white pawn, and all of our players are starting in Essen up here in Europe. And next we're going to be playing with Vicky, and of course now Gwen. So spoiler, we'll be playing with Nick and Gwen. She's a co-worker with Gwen. You may share knowledge with a co-worker as long as one of you is in a city, the card that is being passed, which is cool. So not only does she only need 4 cards, you can share knowledge with your coworker. So she could share knowledge with Gwen. If Gwen's in a city that we need to pass a card over to the scientist to cure something, she'll be able to do that. Pretty cool. She's going to be the blue player, and then we've got Gwen. She's a co-worker with Vicky. I just went over that. And once per turn, you can put a quarantine marker anywhere on the board, which is cool. And quarantine markers are never removed from a city you're in. So if she's in a city with a quarantine marker, and we draw it to add cubes to that city, you don't, and you don't remove the quarantine marker either. Cool. So she will be the pinky player. And last, we're going to have Nick, our operations expert. And both of these, of course, are military, Gwen and Nick. So when we start putting military bases on the board, they can jump from military base to military base. He's friends with Trevor. We went over that. Also, as an action, build a structure in the city you're in, no card required. So build a structure. So he can build a research center or a military structure wherever he is. Remember, we need to get 6 of them, the 6 different regions. I'm assuming the regions North America, South America is 2, Europe 3, Africa 4, Asia 5, and I guess down Australia zone is 6, I'm assuming. That's how I'm going to assume. I might have to look that up a little bit. Alright, so we have, and once per turn is an action, move from any city containing structure to any city, including riding, collapsing, by discarding any city card. So he's very flexible movement. He's going to be the brown token. Oh, goodness. And the 2 cards that I am going to be using is local initiative. Place a quarantine marker on any 2 cities of the board, and the other one is add a military base to any city. No discard needed. So these are going to get shuffled into the deck here, and then each player is going to be given 2 cards. So I'm going to put them in here right now, and we're going to give this a shuffle. And I'm going to give it a good shuffle, and we'll come back, do a little bit more shuffling, and then each player is going to be starting with 2 cards. Alright, I've given them a good shuffle. However, I'm going to give them a little bit more of a shuffle right here on screen, so you're pretty sure that I'm not cooking things up. And yeah, I don't anyway, but just, you know, just in case. And I don't want to drop this. If I drop this, I'm not going to be happy. Alright, one more little shuffle. I give it a cut, but that's Cat Weasel shtick, so we'll just give it a shuffle. And that's it. Alright, shuffled. The 2 cards for Trevor will be Karachi, and I'm going to mispronounce things, I apologize, and Sao Paulo. Alright, that's his 2 cards. Vicky's 2 cards will be Montreal and Kolkata. Alright, not bad, not bad. Of course, nobody's got a pair yet. Alright, Gwen's 2 cards, Khartoum and Lima. Ooh, there's a pair of yellows right there. And she can give... of course, Vicky has no yellow cards. Ooh, alright. And lastly, Nick is going to end up with Istanbul. And his final card will be Beijing. The rest of this deck is going to be cut into 5 equal parts. And then one of these horrific cards is going to be put into it. And each of the 5 sections will be shuffled, and that will be our player deck. I'll do that off screen. And then when we come back, we are going to be infecting our initial cities. We're going to be pulling 3 cards, putting 3 cubes on each of those cities. 3 more cards with 2 cubes, 3 more cards with 1 cube, and then the globe will be set for March. Alright, I've added the horrible epidemic cards into here, shuffled all of the 5 stacks separately, stacked them all on top of each other. It is time for the initial infection of cities. So we're going to take the infection deck, and I'm going to give this a shuffle as well. Remember, the red disease, code 403, code 403B, cannot be cured, period. So we just have to keep it kind of under control. We got super lucky in February. This is a new month, so you know this is just going to be horrible. All right, actually, first 3 cards. So 1, 2, 3. These are going to get 3 each. 1, 2, 3. These get 2 each. 1, 2, 3. These get 1 each. And the rest go back on top. All right, the one's getting 3, and I'll show you these, and we'll do this. So Madrid gets 3 blue. Sao Paulo gets 3 yellow. New York gets 3 blue. Ooh, and I'll set these all up here once we reveal it. All right, one's getting 2 cubes a city are Montreal. Okay, well this is actually so far Osaka, Japan. We can't. Oh, and Sydney. Oh man, we can't cure either of them. They get 2 each. Oh dear. And getting 1 Istanbul, Seoul. Oh man, and Taipei. This is horrible. So we ended up getting 4 of the incurables that cannot. Oh wow, I'm so glad we have Gwen, our quarantine specialist. All right, I'm going to get that set up, and then we'll come right back. All right, the world is all infected and set up. And yes, we do have, of course, our win bonus for February. So any game in March after setup and before the first turn begins, add 1 quarantine marker anywhere on the board. Anywhere on the board. I think we can get to these guys. I think we're going to quarantine something over here. And I think we're going to put the quarantine marker on Sydney because it's really, really out of the way. Although you can go from Los Angeles to Sydney directly. But you know what? We're going to put it on Sydney. I just got a bad feeling about this game. All right, we're going to put the quarantine marker on Sydney. So when we draw a cube to be placed on Sydney, it's not going to happen. I know, maybe I should have put it on Sao Paulo. I don't know. We can't cure the red, so once we start getting cubes on the red areas, we're kind of done. We really have to quarantine and keep them under control. All right, we're going to zoom out. We're going to wrap up our introduction for today, and when we come back tomorrow, we'll be getting at it. All right, well, that's going to wrap up our setup for March. When we come back tomorrow, we will start into the game. So our objectives, oh man, we have to cure the 3 curable diseases, the Cobra 403 yellow, the Milan pox, which is blue, and the unnamed black cube disease. We haven't got a name for that one yet. So we got to cure that. That's one objective we have to do, where we have to get 6 military bases in each region of the world as our second objective, or alternatively, our second objective can be eradicate at least 1 disease. So that's what we're up against for March. I will be playing this right through, so if we fail the first half of March, we'll just go right into the second half of March like we did in January. But if we win first half, then we'll be on to April. Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for watching along. Thanks for your comments, subscriptions, likes, dislikes, participation, anything at all. Really appreciate it. This is Pandemic Legacy Season 1, and we're all set to start March tomorrow. So thanks so much, and I hope to see you then.